When you're staring at the price tag for a high-end floor-standing speaker, the first question that pops into most people's heads is, will I actually notice the difference, or am I just paying for a fancy name? That hesitation makes sense. There are dozens of speakers that promise room-filling sound, but only a few that actually deliver it without forcing you into a perfect room, perfect position scenario. In today's review, I'm going to walk through exactly how the Polk Audio Reserve R700 behaves in a typical living room, what you can realistically expect from its bass and height channels, and why the price might be justified for some setups while feeling excessive for others. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of space where the R700 really shines. The speaker is a tall, triple driver tower with a 1-inch tweeter, a 6.5-inch mid-woofer, and dual 8-inch long-throw woofers that fire downward through a bass reflex port. In a room that's at least 8 feet wide, the downfiring design helps spread low frequencies evenly, so you get that rumble feeling without the bass ballooning into a booming mess. If your TV sits against a wall and you have a decent amount of floor space, the R700 can sit on either side of the TV and still fill the room without needing a subwoofer at the same level. I've seen couples who set up their home theater in a modest 12 by 18 foot room, and with the R700 on both sides, dialogue stayed clear even during a crowded action sequence. That's a practical strength. The speaker delivers clean, room-filling bass without demanding a dedicated sub, which can save you both money and floor space. Now, the high-resolution certification and Dolby Atmos/IMAX enhanced badges sound impressive, but what do they mean in everyday use? In a Dolby Atmos-enabled setup, the R700's tweeter is positioned to bounce sound off the ceiling, creating an overhead effect. In practice, that works best when your ceiling is at least 8 feet high and you have a flat, reflective surface. If you have a low, carpet-top ceiling, the height channel can sound a little thin or become muddied by reflected sound. The key takeaway is that the R700 doesn't magically turn any room into a concert hall, it simply provides the infrastructure to make height effects work when the room is acoustically friendly. For someone who already has a Dolby Atmos receiver and wants to future-proof their system, the R700 is a logical fit. For a viewer who only watches 2D content and isn't planning on upgrading to Atmos, the extra cost for the height channel might be unnecessary. One of the practical concerns many buyers share is placement flexibility. The R700 advertises versatile placement options, and that promise holds up. The speakers can be positioned upright, slightly tilted forward, or even placed on a sturdy speaker stand if floor space is tight. The dual 8-inch woofers are housed in a bass reflex enclosure, which means you have a bit of leeway with toe and angle. You don't need to line the tweeters up perfectly for a balanced soundstage. In my testing, a 10-degree tone still produced a cohesive front image and didn't cause the dialogue to drift to one side. That kind of tolerance is a real-world advantage because most people aren't going to spend hours fine-tuning angles with a laser level. On the flip side, the R700's size can be a drawback. It's a 40-inch tall tower, and its footprint is relatively wide. In a smaller apartment or a room where the TV sits on a low stand, the bottom portion of the speaker may block sightlines or physically clash with furniture. If you're working with limited space, you might need to consider a shorter bookshelf speaker or a slim floor-standing model instead. The weight is also noteworthy at roughly 40 pounds per side. These aren't the kind of speakers you can easily move around once they're set. For renters who anticipate rearranging or moving frequently, the R700 could become a logistical headache. Another point worth diving into is the price-to-performance ratio relative to the Polk Reserve line. The R700 sits at a premium tier, but it shares its driver architecture with the smaller R200 model, which is considerably cheaper. If you already own two R200s, upgrading to a pair of R700s gives you a noticeable jump in bass depth and overall output, especially at higher volumes. However, if you're coming from a completely different brand, you might find a comparable 3-way floor-standing speaker from a competitor for a similar price that offers a slightly different tonal balance, perhaps tighter highs or a more extended low end. The real value of the R700 comes from its built-in ability to handle both main channel and height channel duties, reducing the need for additional Atmos speakers in a 5-channel configuration. Who should definitely consider the R700? First, anyone planning a dedicated home theater with a Dolby Atmos or IMAX enhanced receiver and who has a room that can accommodate a tall tower. If you enjoy immersive movies, love the impact of a low-frequency boom in action scenes, and want a single speaker to handle both traditional left-right channels and height effects, the